Welcome to Car File. Now this week's programme we're looking at the BMW 3 Series. We've got the performance models, the convertibles and, shall we say, the more mundane Retmobiles. To start us off, here's Richard Hammond.
There's no point in denying it. The coupe sector is the fashion end of the car industry. It's the shiny plastic handbag sector. It's the place where beauty is more than skin deep. It's an entire reason for being. And it's a place where we buy cars not for their performance or their ability, but for the way they look. It's a beauty parade. It's a complicated business if you've got around £20,000 to £25,000 burning a hole in the pocket of your jeans and you're looking for a car. If it's outright performance you want, then you're likely to be looking at something like Subaru's Impreza or the Mitsubishi Evo. If you want sports car thrills, then there are loads of little rear-wheel drive roadsters like the Mazda MX-5, or for a little more, Honda's new S2000. But no, you want a car that's a little more familiar, that echoes perhaps a more sensible choice but still stands out in the company car park. Though not too much, because it doesn't want to upset the bosses. In fact, what you want is a car that your fleet manager is going to let you have. Enter the BMW 3 Series Coupe. The two 6-cylinder versions are first to be available, the 323 and the 328. The 318 with 4 cylinders is available in the autumn. The 323 confusingly has a 2.5 litre straight 6. This, the 328, has a 2.8 litre straight 6. Classic BMW engine, huge bucket loads of torque and a glorious straight 6 bellow to accompany it. The driving position is neutral. You feel very much in command with all the controls exactly where they should be. A couple of criticisms, both to do with the steering though. It's very precise and very direct and quite communicative as you'd expect from a BMW. But it could do, I think, with a quicker rack. You do have to put in an awful lot to get a response. And this wheel is enormous. It's like driving a tractor. It could do with something a little bit smaller just to make it feel like it's a little more eager to turn in. At the moment it just follows the corners rounds rather than turns into the bends with vigour. And then it has a whole barrage of technological wizardry to help you avoid throwing the thing at the scenery. There's ASC plus T, ABS, SSC, the list goes on and on. Basically we're talking traction control, and probably one of the most advanced traction control systems on the market today. Bearing in mind this is a rear-wheel drive car with quite a lot of power, you could get into a little bit of trouble. And to illustrate the point of just how effective that traction control system is, try turning it off and then being a little over-enthusiastic with the right boot, and you soon find things get a little bit naughty. There is a certain irony to this. The BMW 3 Series Coupe is, in its own right, a very good car, and it doesn't share a single body panel with its sister, the 3 Series Saloon version. And yet, despite the enormous expense and amount of engineering involved in achieving that, it's been designed to look, well, pretty much like the 3 Series Saloon, really. In fact, it's longer, lower and wider than the Saloon and than the previous Coupe. And it does have the same steeply raked front and rear windscreens that kind of define it as a coupe shape. But it is all very elegant and very understated. And the same can be said for the interior, where it's equally elegant and understated. And it's equally ironic that a car so often bought by the terminally brash should boast one of the most understated interiors on the market. Slide into the cockpit of any modern BMW, in fact, and you enter an environment designed to make you comfortable with maximum efficiency. Everything in the right place and everything built to last. Mind you, it's never going to win any prizes for being the most interesting place on earth to be. Standard equipment though is pretty good for the 3 Series Coupe. We've got electric seats on everything, air conditioning, safety has been given a high priority with 6 airbags in here, ABS and a sophisticated traction control system, and plenty of goodies in the cabin to play around with as well, including electric windows front and rear. And there's little touches like this that can make all the difference. The 3 Series Coupe accounts for 1/4 of all UK sales in its sector, and that's a level of success you can't argue with. BMW must be getting something right with this car, and apart from the build quality and image, that probably starts with the combination of rear-wheel drive and strong engines. The straight 6 units are a real peach, and the 328 is a very fast peach indeed, strong and tractable with plenty of power right through the rev range. It really is a joy to drive and feed the power through into those rear wheels. You would expect the 3 Series Coupe to be something of a special drive, and it doesn't disappoint.
What we found was that our customers actually ordered lots of options on Coupe, much more so than the saloon variant. And so what we thought we would do with this one is give them what they actually wanted in the first place, but actually in overall terms, when you take account of the additional specification, the car is actually better value than the old one. We came in '92 with the previous car, and it was the first proper coupe that we had built, and immediately the market expanded. And a lot of competitors have now followed us into that sector. So it's gone from around 16,000 units a year up to 35,000 units a year, and we have 25% of that market. So we've actually, as you rightly say, have a fair stronghold on that market. And the principal reason we believe for that is that this coupe, perhaps even more so than its predecessor, is a very, very good mixture of style, because style is important in coupes. It has to look good, but also it's practical. BMW's philosophy has never been to be wild with its cars. It's an evolutionary styling, just as the saloon is. And I think that's really because we've found a style which our customers like, a family style. And if we were to change that, actually we risk alienating a lot of our customers. The feedback we get from our customers is they like it. It's identifiable as a BMW. It's not an extreme car. You can park it and people are not sort of gawking at it all the time and perhaps making the occupants feel embarrassed. But it's a nice mixture between restrained style and, as I've said before, practicality.
The new 3 Series Coupe will sell, and probably in enormous numbers. But when you think about it, for all the wrong reasons, for its pretty face, for its BMW badge. But if it looked like an old allotment shed and was labelled a lumpy doodah coupe, it would still be worth a look. Its sheer ability would overcome such disadvantages. Sure, it might be in the fashion end of the motor industry, but to use a fashion statement, BMW would tell you that their design is a timeless classic. And you know, I don't think they'd be that far wrong.
Well, seeing as it's not raining, it's time for a look at the BMW Cabriolet.
Hooray! At last, a BMW bike. Mind you, it'll still set you back 2,100 quid. Now, let me just press this button here. Now, if you reckon that BMW is a little underpowered, driven as it is by these 2 knotted pieces of string I call legs, then this BMW certainly isn't, because it's powered by a new 3-litre engine available throughout their range, but we've decided to test it in this 3 Series Cabriolet. For the simple reason you can still experience the same wind in your hair as on the bike, if not wind on your knees. The new engine is a straight 6, hardly a surprise. BMW have been making them for 85 years and they do give excellent smoothness. It started life, this unit, as a 2.5, then it grew to a 2.8 litre and now it's a 3 litre. Power is up from 193 brake horsepower to 231, which is quite a hike actually, as is torque up, and the important thing is 90% of the torque is available from 1500 RPM. In English, that means loads of mid-range power, which makes it very easy to drive pretty quickly. Whilst there's no doubt this is certainly no M3, and on paper the M3 would have it beaten, in day-to-day life, from one point to another on country roads, I reckon my money would be on this. It would certainly be the easier drive to get anywhere in a hurry. One characteristic you'd expect to find in nearly all of the bigger 4-seater convertibles is scuttle shake. No, it's not a 70s disco dance, it's actually to do with the rigidity of the car. Think about it, you chop the roof off, that's a big old lump of tin that used to be there to brace it, and as a result, without it, the whole thing can twist and shake, which makes it very difficult for the suspension to cope. Well, in this, they've actually improved it by 20% over the previous convertible, which is already pretty good, so it's not at all bad. That said, there's no way is it ever going to be as good as the tin top, coupe or saloon. normally bang on about their cars being driver's car and rear-wheel drive being the best thing for real drivers. But the other important point is sitting in the cabin, everything's aimed at me. Literally, everything's pointing at me, the driver. I'm the important one. Down on the fascia in the center console, everything's aimed at me. Even the steering wheel is specially for me. I've got special controls for everything, and it looks and feels great. I feel important. And here's something really clever. In any soft top, you're going to lose a bit of boot space because when the top itself is down, it's got to go somewhere, and usually they cut into your boot space area, so we lose a bit here, and that's the case with the BMW. But, and this is where it's clever, if you're going to leave your top up and you're going away, you want to put a few suitcases in it, lift this lever, push it here, compress that space, and voila, we have more boot space. Clever. In fact, this could be said to be one of your few chances to please everybody in life. For the show-off in you, well, it's a convertible, isn't it? Drop top. For the family man or woman, it's a four-seater. Very practical. For the accountant, BMW convertibles hold their value very well. For the driver, well, it's rear-wheel drive with that fantastic new 3-litre engine, a real peach. For the snob, well, it's a BMW badge, isn't it? That said, it's not perfect, because it can't be said to be class-leading in every one of those fields, but it is quite probably the best compromise. And life is, after all, about compromise. Otherwise, Einstein would have been born looking like Marilyn Monroe.
Well, that's it for part one, but right after the break, we'll be looking at some serious cubic inches. I don't mean performance, I'm afraid it's the estate version of the 3 Series. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to Carfire. Well, now it's time for Ian Royle to get behind the wheel of the 3 Series Touring.
Well, it may be winter, but here in the south of France, it's another glorious day. Blue skies, sunshine, temperatures of some 60 degrees or so. So what has forced us to come all this way? Well, it's a new car. Now, when BMW launch a new model, not for them to rush out that model with all the variants available straight away. They like to dangle a carrot or two. They bring out the saloon first, and you get the feel and the like and the look of that. And then they bring out the coupe version. So what's next on the list for the BMW 3 Series? Well, it's this, the new 3 Series Touring. So if my arithmetic is correct, this is model number 3 out of probably 5, with the convertible and M models still to come. Now, when the 3 Series Saloon was launched last year, it unsurprisingly received universal acclaim. It's selling well, and the coupe is selling well too. So what do BMW expect with the Touring? Well, big things. They're anticipating an increase in sales of some 70% over the previous Touring model, which will be no mean feat. The very first BMW Touring was brought out way back in 1971 and managed, well, quite respectable sales at the time, even though it was a radical design. It was 20 years later that the Touring re-emerged again, and now we're on to a 4th generation, and a very desirable car it is too. As ever with cars, first impressions count, and the 3 Series Touring, quite frankly, doesn't disappoint. It's a very, very stylish car with some very nice features on it. For instance, we've seen this before on the 5 Series, but it comes to the 3 Series now, the split rear tailgate, useful for just throwing a few bags into the back there, and of course that goes down and the whole thing opens up here. Now, the entrance into the load area here has been increased by some 10 centimetres. Doesn't sound a lot, but could make a difference if you're carrying bulky items. And total capacity back here has also been increased to 1,345 litres, which is, say, BMW, quite a bit bigger than the Audi A4 Avantis. Ouch! Now, there's also an extra 12-volt power supply socket back here in the boot too, particularly useful if you want to plug a fridge in or something like that. I mean, how many people do you know who have fridges in the back of their cars? In past years, BMW have been criticised for their lack of standard equipment. It wasn't that long ago you had to buy a radio, but no longer. The list of toys is high, including air conditioning, airbags all round, electric front windows, remote alarm, sports steering wheel, ABS, alloy wheels, and of course, a radio cassette. You get all that and more on the 318 SE and 320 diesel SE models, with even more goodies on the 328. Now, we haven't come all this way to enjoy the blue skies and sunshine, nice though it is. The roads around this part of the south of France are fantastic, and this car needs to be driven. At launch, there are 3 variants of the new 3 Series Touring available. There's the 318 and 328 petrol models. BMW's new 320 diesel engine as well joins the lineup, which has had some rave reviews recently. Also joining the lineup soon is the 330 diesel. Now, I'm no fan of diesel engines, but the 330 really is a very good unit. It's powerful, it's economical, it's refined, and most importantly, it's quiet. The 318 uses BMW's well-known 1.9 engine that we've already seen in the likes of the Saloon and the Z3, to name just a few cars it's been used in. It produces 118 brake horsepower with 133 pounds-feet of torque. Now, that should be enough for most situations, but I can expect it to struggle if the car was fully laden, or if you're going around twisty mountain roads like we are today. However, it's pretty good. It just needs a bit of revving, a bit of work on it to make rapid progress. The 318 will accelerate to 60 in around 11 seconds with a top speed of 126 miles an hour. The 320 diesel is even quicker, doing the sprint in 10 seconds using its 4-cylinder turbo engine. Power is 136 brake horsepower, top speed 129 miles an hour. But of course, what you buy a diesel for is economy, and it really doesn't disappoint. 38 to the gallon urban, 60 miles per gallon extra urban, and almost 50 to the gallon on the combined figures, and that means a touring range of nearly 700 miles to a tank. Even more if you have a very dainty right foot. The cream of the 3 Series Touring range is of course the 328 with that renowned 6-cylinder 2.8 litre engine, producing 193 brake horsepower with 206 pounds-feet of torque. It really is such a good unit, and of course it's quick. It will do the 0 to 60 sprint in 7.3 seconds, top speed of 147 miles an hour. The only place it might hurt you a bit is when you go to fill up at the petrol pump, because it will return on average about 28 miles to the gallon. Not bad, but compared to the diesel, makes your heart and your wallet rather nervous. The Touring is packed with safety systems like automatic stability control and traction, ABS, dynamic stability control and cornering brake control, which when braking midway through a bend, distributes the braking and applies pressure to the outside front wheel to stabilise the car and reduce the risk of oversteer. Now, for those of us who don't own a BMW and don't drive one every day, you tend to forget just how good these cars are to drive. The moment you get in it, you feel safe, you feel secure, and you know it's going to be a good drive. BMW, of course, make great play of the fact that their cars have near perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and the Touring, of course, is no exception. It handles well, it remains composed when cornering, and never feels like it's going to bite back at you for having too much fun. Well, once again, BMW have come up with a car that's very difficult to find a fault with. It's comfortable, it's stylish, it's easy to drive, and a lot of fun. And it's a car that you'll want on your driveway, I'm sure of that. Prices, well, they start at just over £22,000 for the 318, 23.5 for the 320 diesel, rising to just under £29,000 for the 328. There's still a very impressive options list too, should you feel the need to be a bit different. If only BMW were a bit different from time to time. In other words, if they produced a car that was different and that we could find some faults with, but they just won't.
The 3 Series grew from the 2002, the 1602, the 02 series as it's called by aficionados, back in the late 1960s. The first 3 actually came out, the first true 3 Series called the 3 Series came out in 1975, was succeeded in 1982 by the next, 1991 by the next, and just a couple of years ago by the current 3 Series car. So we're effectively in the 5th generation of the 3 Series. And as it's gone through time, it's gone from being a 2-door coupe to a 2-door car and a 4-door car, and more recently a touring estate car, a convertible, and even an M3, like this one we've got here. And the platform even was the basis for the Z3 Roadster. So a huge, broad range. 3 Series attracts a much, much larger female buying proportion, whereas 5 Series is perhaps predominantly male. Around 25% of all 3 Series are bought by women, and when we talk about things like the convertible, it's as high as 40%. So we have a very varied appeal for the different models which we offer with 3 Series, both in terms of age and in terms of gender and the type of work that buyers are involved in.
Well, that's it for this week's Car File, but make sure you join us next week when we're looking at the best boots money can buy. And no, not welly boots, estate cars. We'll see you next week.